Welcome back to another episode of the Slay Your Day podcast. I'm so excited because today, here and in person, I have Michelle Poehler. She is the best-selling author of Hello Fears and also my neighbor.
Yes, this was actually a surprise. I was knocking the door. I'm like, I'm here. And she's like, I thought we were doing Zoom. I'm like, no.
So we're in person. We are live, but I'm so excited because I want to chat today about Hello Fears and where the whole idea started. Where did this all come from?
It's a little bit of a crazy story where I moved to New York. I was
because I noticed in the book you're talking a lot about living in New York.
Yeah, it was like my dream since I was little. So when I was like 25 years old, I decided to move to New York to do a master's in branding at the School of Visual Arts, and I absolutely loved everything about it. But then there was one project that completely changed my life, and that's the beginning of this book, which is a 100-day project. So imagine having to do one thing repeatedly for 100 days in a row. Like choosing one thing. What will you choose?
Yeah.
What would you like?
I mean, for me, it would be speaking because it comes easy for me. You know, like but I like that you challenged yourself to do something that completely got you out of your comfort zone.
I wanted this project to change my life, and if you want to change your life, you have to do something you've never done before.
That's right.
Right? Because my first ideas were out of comfort, and those were like.
So what were those ideas?
Like, let me try 100 restaurants.
Okay,
let me try 100 flavors of ice cream. Let me try,
I did
say. But I was studying branding, so what if I pick 100 brands and I give a review on them? I don't know, something like that. But then I'm like, if I want this to actually change my life, I need to do something that's holding me back.
Right.
So I want to ask you and people watching, what's holding you back? What is the one thing you're avoiding? What if you would say yes to that for 100 consecutive days?
I love that. And I'll tell you, okay, so my kids are 3 and 6 years old. And I remember before Jordy was born, Jake was probably about 1 year old. And I was pretty scheduled. I was pretty regimented. But I knew the one thing that was holding me back was waking up early. And I hated, like you guys know that listen to my podcast and watch my YouTube channel, like I now get up early. But at the time, I knew that was
early.
So I get up at 5.
Wow, that's early.
So now today, Sandi gets up at 5 o'clock. But 5 years ago, Sandi, that was the thing that I knew was holding me back from getting to where I wanted to go.
Oh my God, I feel I have to do this 100-day project
now. Yes, but now it's like I get up. I mean, 2 mornings ago, I was up at 4:45 because I'm up before my alarm clock is going off. And I'm like, you know what? I'm already up. If I go back to sleep now, I'm not really going to get good sleep. You know, you learn all about REM sleep and quality of sleep. But for me, it's all about like prioritizing my nights so I can be up early. But that allowed me to be more effective, efficient with my time, with the boys, with my schedules. But like for me, 5 years ago, it was getting up early.
That's amazing. And that is exactly what's holding me back today from doing what I need to do. So I haven't been taking care of myself. I'm all about work because I start my days after I leave Noah, my 2-year-old, at school.
Yeah.
So at 9-10 a.m. I start my day. I don't have time to work out.
Yeah.
But it's because of that.
And that was, for me, that was like a big shift for me where I said, okay, like I was pretty consistent with working out, but I knew if I wanted the workouts, the business, the time with the kids, the time for myself, the time with my husband, I just had to get up earlier. So that was my block. And then I had to conquer it, and then I had to learn to become that morning person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
in my case, I was living with fear, or let's say living inside my comfort zone, avoiding facing my fears, and always trusting that you don't need to step outside of your comfort zone to achieve things, because actually I was achieving things. I was already, hired as an art director at a really good advertising agency. I was already married. I graduated from college with a really good degree, everything. I check all the boxes.
Yeah. And that's what you do in your mind. You're like, go through and you're like, okay, what are the boxes that I should be checking versus like what is going to allow me to grow in ways that I'm probably not thinking of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I checked all these boxes. I was like 24, 25, and I was like, why am I living such a comfortable life? Why do I already
Yeah.
have everything that I'm supposed to have?
Right.
And now what's next?
I love
Right?
that. Do you
That's
feel, because I'll like talk
Yeah.
about mine in a moment, but like, do you feel like you hit these points in your life or your career where you're like, okay, now I need to try something new to like get out of that comfort zone, because you kind of get stagnant for a while and then you're like, okay, I need to do something new to like mix it up?
Well, I was like more just wondering, what is life about, and
Yeah.
is this happiness? I'm like, is this happiness? Like, is this what I'm, you check all the boxes that promise happiness,
Right.
but I'm like, I feel very like comfortable. And then I realized
Yes.
there's a huge difference between comfort and happiness.
So
Huge.
what was one of like, or maybe there's a couple of those moments or things that you did that scared you, that after you did it, you were like, why did this take me so long?
Yeah, that's interesting. So basically, I had all these realizations. I moved to New York to start living my life, but still inside of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
I was not enjoying New York to the fullest. And then one day, my friends at the master program, I told them something like, you know what? I'm so sad I'm going to miss out on this exhibition at the museum because I don't have who to go with.
Right.
And then they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, Adam is traveling. My husband's traveling this week.
Yeah.
And then you guys already went. So I don't have anyone to go with. So I'll miss out. And then they're like, or you go by yourself.
Yes.
And I'm like,
yes.
I never even considered that. I'm like, what do you mean? Is that a thing? And then they're like, Michelle, we are not suggesting that you go by yourself. We're challenging you
wow.
to go
so
by
those are
yourself.
Good friends.
They are, because
Yeah.
for the first time, I had friends that wanted to challenge me to grow.
Right.
My entire life, I had friends that were there to protect me.
Right.
And say, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll go with you. Don't worry. I'll go
Yeah.
again. But finally, I had friends that were like, we're
that's
not
so good.
okay with you being in your comfort zone. We're in New York. We have to like go out and explore and have
there's
fun.
so much. I mean, just like Miami, there's so much to do like all the time.
All the time.
That it's like, if you wait for that moment for someone to invite you or for someone to come with you, you're going to miss out on so much opportunity.
So I went to the museum. I loved it so much. It was like my favorite visit to the museum, because finally I didn't have Adam complaining about everything in there, saying, I could do this. Why is this in the museum? And I'm like, finally I enjoyed it. I could go in my own rhythm. And after that, I was like, what else am I missing out on? Because I don't even consider going by myself to these places. And that's when the idea of doing a 100-day project appeared in my class. This is part of my class, right? So we all had to do this 100-day project. And that's when all my friends there were like, what yours is, right? I'm like, no. And then they're like, you have to face your fears, Michelle. I'm like, oh, seriously? And they're like, yes, and we'll support you. And then I talked to my husband, Adam, and he's like, 100% I'll support you. Like, I'll help you with everything you need, but definitely I want to be married to a much braver person. I want to have kids in the future with a brave mom. So yes, let's do this.
Oh my gosh. So, okay. So what was like one of those big things that stood out for you that you did, that you like completely were so scared to do, that you faced your fear and you did it, and then now on the other side are like so proud of yourself?
Well, of course, to face 100 fears took a lot of creativity.
You guys.
Yeah. So I had to do all kinds of things. Like I can spend the rest of the hour here just talking about the different things that I did, and you're not going to believe it. Actually, just go to 100dayswithoutfear.com and you'll see the whole list and videos to each one of those. So everything I recorded, I put it on YouTube. That's how this project went viral. But then there's one that changed my life more than the others, and it was the last one. So for the last fear, I decided I wanted to face my fear of speaking in public.
Oh my gosh.
And I gave a TEDx talk. So I talked to the TEDx team in Houston, told them about the project, said I want to face my 100th fear on your stage. They said no, then say yes. It's part of everything is in the book, like the whole story.
Yes.
But they said yes. So ended up speaking at TEDx Houston. And then I became a speaker, changed my career, everything. That's what I do now for a living.
So what's a story that stands out for you? Because now that you do speaking, what is maybe a story or two from someone that's been in your audience and they've come up to you and they've said, you've inspired me to do this or that? What's something that sticks out for you?
It's really interesting because it's not maybe just one thing. It's just reframing how you perceive fear.
And like everything, how you
Exactly.
handle life, how you look at decision making or
Yeah.
challenges. I love that.
Once you change that, it changed your entire life. So normally what happens is that when I meet people for the first time in person, people that already read my book, they burst into tears when they see me, and they hug me, and they thank me, and they say, I just want to thank you. You changed my life. Like this book changed my life. So
well, and I feel like you're also, by you doing this, you are giving them permission to do it themselves. You know, like when your friends came to you and said, Michelle, just go by yourself.
Yeah.
You know, it was almost like a permission slip, not that you needed one, but to be like, oh, wait a minute, like I can do that. And then like with this book and with your videos, it's also allowing other people to say, I don't need a permission slip. Like I can go do this. I don't need to wait for someone to tell me yes, no, do it or don't do it.
Exactly. Actually, one of like my tagline for what I'm doing now, like for my personal account and everything, is I'm living my most successful life, like my definition of success, so you can live yours. Because I feel that every time that I show anything about my life, just my relationship with my baby, or how I decorate my home, or what I do for a living, and all of these things, is showing people that I am fulfilling my own definition of success, and then making them wonder what's theirs. And would they have the courage to pursue their own definition?
Yeah. And it's just like when you make your goals, right? It's like what I write down for my goals are going to be different what you have for yours versus what the next person has for theirs.
It is extremely personal. So that's why I care so much about people understanding their own definition, because there is the common definition of success, and everybody feels the pressure to pursue that, to get married, to have kids, to buy a home, all these things that if you don't have,
like check the box, check the box.
You're perceived as you're behind, you're weird. And so I give permission to people to think about, disregard that. Now what's your definition, and let's pursue that.
And there's so much more out there when you kind of just like peel back the curtain and you're like, look, this is not the only thing that defines success. There's all these other things, but it's on your terms. So I love that part of it.
Suddenly they feel so aligned to themselves, to their purpose, to their values, to their own message. So one of the things I care a lot about is people discovering, like, or uncovering what's their message. What is your message? What is the one thing that when people ask you about that topic, you can talk for hours? Like, and one interesting way of finding that out, like understanding what that message is I challenge people to think, what frustrates you the most?
That's good.
When you think, I can't stand people that do this, or when this sort of things happen, your purpose is behind that. Like your values are so strong when it comes to that topic, that's your message too.
I love that so much. And I love also that, so there was a first version of your book, Hello Fears, and now you're about to release the second version of Hello Fears. And I want you to talk a little bit about this because you added a final chapter.
Yes.
So the final chapter is on abundance. We'll show it right here. And I love that you have a picture of your family in here.
This is like actually very
I'll let you there we
full
go.
circle, because this starts, if you see the first page. Hard to hold a mic and a book at the same time. But look who I dedicated this book to.
I saw this. So for those of you that are listening on the podcast, so it says dedicated to my future kids, and then on the bottom in a little asterisk it says, and by the way, there's 2 asterisks on the bottom. It says, or maybe I should just dedicate this book to Adam, who is her husband, who actually exists now and was the reason why I was able to turn my life upside down like a delicious pancake. And then on the bottom underneath of it, it says, on that note, I'd like to dedicate this book to all the men out there who support and empower women. So I love that so much. This was the first page that I read when I opened up the book, and I was like, this is amazing. And you know, I've spent time with your husband and obviously your son, and I love how he shows up. I love that he's so supportive. I mean, he reminds me so much of my husband, you know, and like you guys are a team, and that's what it should be.
It's interesting because he travels with me to my speaking events. Not all of them.
I see him dancing. I see him like up there with you.
And he's actually like in the audience taking photos of me on stage and all of that. People don't know this, until I say it.
Right.
And there's a part of the presentation I'm like, and then I told this to Adam, what do you think he said? And then that's his line.
Yeah.
And he has to scream from the crowd, heck no. And everybody turns around and he's there. It gives another meaning to me being on stage.
Right.
People see that this is real, that I'm not here just to motivate you and rah, rah, rah and talk to you, but this is my real life. And I travel with my real husband who's here supporting me.
I love that.
And it's great for men to see this. That it's a like really big lesson for men to say,
so
wow.
A lot of times, like I'll have some of my clients, they'll ask me, they'll say like, how do I get my spouse on board? You know, like that's a big question for women, especially if they're just finding their thing, whatever that is. So I'd be interested to see what you have to say about that. What would you give? What would your advice be to that woman for her to get her husband on board?
I would start by involving him in small decisions and actually listening to him. And actually accepting that advice and doing something about it, because then they will feel useful. And they'll say, oh, this is cool. I feel part of something. It's not just us having this discussion, but it's her, taking action based on what I'm suggesting. Actually, the times where I don't take his advice, that's the time when I see that he like holds back. And then he's like, do you still want me to be part of it? I'm like, yes, I do. You can't just move away every time I don't take your advice. But start there, and he will feel involved, and then he will feel part of your success.
You guys are building it together. And to me, like, I want my kids to be involved in what I'm doing, like in what we do as a family and what my husband's doing. So, and I see like Noah, like you bring him up on stage. Same thing with our boys. They're up on stage with us. Jake loves it. Like he already knows he wants to be a speaker. Like that boy, just give him a microphone and he'll steal the stage. But I think that it's important for them to see, because they're in their own minds are crafting what's possible.
Yes, of course. They grew up without any kind of fear of being on stage.
And isn't that amazing? Like you see it so much in the kids.
I know. I'm like very excited to see what's the future for them, because they're growing up with so many possibilities in a world of self-help, where everything is possible, everything's validated. I don't know. It's
and everything's at your fingertips. But then it's like, to that same effect, it's like, because there's so much opportunity, it's almost like you have to figure out even more like what it is that you want to do. Because now it's like you can do literally anything.
Yes, exactly. So just I was traveling this week for a speech, and I always tell Noah, because of course it hurts me to leave him every time I travel. He comes with me. We're traveling to the next one together. And a few, but like he stays for a few of them, and so I don't want to show him guilt. I want to show him excitement. So I'm like, Mommy's going to give a presentation again. And do you think that makes Mommy proud or happy? And he's like, yes. And you know what he said? Next time I'm sad, I'm going to give a presentation and I'll feel happy.
Oh my God.
I'm like, yes, you got it.
Yes. And it's like showing them other ways, like tools and in like a tool belt, like these are other tools that I can use, and that's what he's seeing.
Exactly. And I thought, wow, this is interesting, because maybe for another little boy, in order to get happy, you need a present, a gift, a toy. And no, it's about what you do and what you're passionate about. That's what gets you happy, not what you have.
That's amazing. I love that. So I want to talk really quick again about the final chapter
to this. So I released this book, but the hardcover one, in the middle of the pandemic, so May 2020.
That's when my book came out too. I just had Jordy. I had Jordy, and so I birthed a book and a baby in the same month.
Oh my gosh, really? It's funny because I conceived right after.
Oh my gosh, you were like full of the creative juices.
No. I was like, first I launched my book, then I'll
but then the
start
baby.
trying, and then immediately
right away
we're like, okay, we're having a book and a baby.
I'm there with you.
And so I released in the middle of the pandemic. You know how that was. Crushing, because I couldn't tour or anything.
I know.
And now my publisher was like, Michelle, we're doing the paperback version. You get to change whatever you want. And I look at it and I'm like, in my eyes, this book is perfect. It's like your kid.
It is.
It's perfect. There's nothing I would remove or change or anything. It already changed thousands of lives. Like we've sold over, I don't know, maybe 100,000 copies. So
Yeah.
yes, I wouldn't change a thing, but then I'm like, okay, can I update the color of the jacket to be, and I updated the photo and
I love
the
it.
color, but I was like, if I could add a chapter,
Yeah.
it would be about the one topic that I've been focusing on for the last 3 years during
Sure.
the pandemic, which is abundance.
Yeah.
And I gave a whole class about abundance to my community in Spanish, and it was like mind-blowing for them. So I was like,
Wow.
what if I translate this, turn it into a chapter of the book? And now that's what you get. So if you buy the paperback copy, it has the bonus chapter about abundance, which right now is my favorite topic, my favorite chapter. So
tell me your take on it. I mean, because you think abundance and you think, okay, like limitless opportunities, but what is your take? What does that mean to you?
So for me, having an abundance mindset, like abundance, it's so hard to explain, but this is how I'll give you an example of how I see it. Imagine you have 5 cookies, like they teach you at school, right? You have 5 cookies and you give away 3 cookies. They teach you at school that you end up with 2 cookies.
Right.
That's
this
not
is so good. This
how
is so
I
good.
perceive life. That to me is having a scarcity mindset.
Right.
I think that every time you give something, you get even more than what you give. So if you give away 3 cookies, now you have 3 new friends. With the possibility of them feeling so grateful that they want to give you something back in return, even bigger than cookies.
Oh my gosh, I love this
Every
analogy.
time we give something, we get way more than what that's how I perceive abundance. And it's not even about money, how people, put together like abundance and finances. I don't even put that together. I'm like, what else can you do for somebody else? That's how I perceive it. That's what I teach people here. And it goes back to relationships and community, how to build community through abundance. So I have a really engaged community.
I know, I see that online.
They feel part of what I'm doing, and it's
so
because
good.
I've been able to involve them, listen to them, highlight them, and it's all about giving.
Absolutely.
And the day that you need them to be there for you, I promise they will be there for you.
And I think also the timing of when your book came out, being that it was like during COVID and all of that, and now where we're at now, fast forward to 2023, it's like we went through that. It was a hard time for a lot of people, but I think it's also all in the way that you look at it, right? Because I'm not negating the fact that it was a difficult time, but I think that if the glasses that you are wearing are you're looking at it through opportunity, if you're looking for okay, yes, this is a rough or difficult situation, but and I teach this to my boys all the time. It's like, you might be going through something difficult, but where's the opportunity here? It's just changing the way that you're thinking about it.
Exactly. And then it's understanding when our thoughts are coming from a scarcity mindset. And then have the mindset to reframe that. Reframe that into abundance. So for example, I had a student of mine send me a book this week and say, Michelle, can you promote my book? It would mean the world. If you promote it on your social media. It's beautiful. It's amazing. It talks about me in the book, a whole story about me. And my first reaction is that yes, I want to promote this. But then I think, wait, I'm in the middle of promoting my own book. Maybe I shouldn't promote hers right now. Maybe I promote hers later, because I want my followers to buy my book first. And then immediately I'm like, Michelle, this is scarcity mindset.
You're catching yourself.
You're promoting a book about abundance. Do the right thing. So immediately I went back to my initial reaction of excitement, and I promoted her book. And then I even did a whole post about this. And so many people went back and bought my book and her book after reading the post, because they're like, this is so true. We need to, and even I go through scarcity mindset a lot of the time.
Of course. And look, I think it's like a muscle, right? You have to work it, because you're not going to just wake up one day and not feel that or think that, So the more you work it, it's like the more you're going to get the thing that you want.
Exactly. What I say in here is that abundance attracts abundance. If you want abundance in your life, you need to start yourself. You have to create it. How? By being abundant.
Right.
That's
Absolutely.
the key. That's how it all starts. And I have I want to
I love how interactive the book is too, by the way. It's like I was going through it, and it's first of all, it's so beautiful, but it's also very interactive.
Yeah, I'm like, I have to show you, because Yeah, like what I try to do is very Instagrammable.
Yes.
So
yes.
when people get it, they immediately take so many photos of
Yeah,
it and
'cause
put
it's
it
beautiful.
everywhere. But yeah, this is a really good
I
quote.
hope you hold it
You
up.
can contribute to the lives of others without losing anything. And people forget
So
that.
good.
There's a great example about this that I heard one time, and it's that a candle loses nothing by lighting another candle.
Yes. Yes.
And a lot of people have the mentality that if I give away
Right.
my tools, my tricks, my
Right,
strategies,
Right.
then the more people will get ahead, I will be behind.
Exactly.
And that's not how it
exactly.
works. In my case, I proved to myself that the more I give and share and
Right.
don't hold anything back, the more people feel engaged and want to
Right.
give back and
Right. Of
grow
course.
together.
Well, it's like feeling that reciprocity, but it's like you feel good when
Mhm.
you're doing that. You feel
Mhm.
good when you are giving to other people or you're showing up. And, like, again, I try and teach this to the boys. Like,
Yes.
You're not losing anything by helping someone else. You're not losing anything. If anything, you're gaining.
Yeah.
It's crazy because it's like anytime you're feeling sad or down,
Mhm.
like, go just volunteer
Yeah.
and see how it makes you feel.
Mhm.
Because immediately, number one, you become more grateful.
Yeah.
And number two, you're like, oh my gosh, like you just see things in a more, almost like in a more clear way. And you realize, okay, life is really good. And I know how abundant life is. Like there is so much to give.
Yeah. Like when we started in this journey of like, I went viral and
Yeah.
all these things started to happen to us, and places started hiring us like Google and Microsoft and
Yeah.
all of these amazing companies hiring us. And
Can you imagine all of this from a project, like a
Never.
school project? That's amazing.
I never would have thought, like, and these amazing companies putting us in like the most beautiful hotels in
Yeah.
Vegas and in limousines, and all these things started to happen to us. My husband would always wonder, why is this happening? Like, he was like so skeptical, like, why is this happening to us? I don't get it.
Yeah.
And I never asked myself why. I was
Right.
like, why not?
Right.
That was my question.
Right.
Why
Like this is a
wouldn't
gift.
it
Why?
happen?
Like don't question the gift.
And then I go back and I'm like, it is happening to us because we're putting a lot of
Yeah.
value into
You're
the
doing
world.
so much
We're
good.
giving a lot. So
Yeah.
the universe
Yeah.
is rewarding you. So it's just a chain of abundance. When you start giving, you will start getting.
Yes.
But it's really important this. You can't, how I said in the book, you can't be abundant in quotation marks.
Yeah.
That means that you're giving just because you're
because you want to
expecting.
get back.
Exactly.
Yes,
You
that's
have
true.
to give because your heart is
Right.
telling you, go out.
And I
give.
think also, if you are more aware of it and it's something that you practice daily, it will then become part of just what you're doing naturally. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, maybe in the beginning you're like, okay, I'm doing these things because I want to put more abundance out into the world. That's okay. But then you're going to start doing it and it's going to become natural, and then it's just going to happen, and it's going to be a part of who you are.
It's changing your mindset from how do I get more to how do I give more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard for people too who maybe haven't experienced that yet, to maybe understand the concept or like, how does this really work? But I think when you just kind of know within yourself, like, I live an abundant life. I have so much abundance. I have so much opportunity. Like, there's so many different ways to reframe those different thoughts that will change your life just in the way that you talk about it.
It's like as simple as if you walk down the street and you smile at people, you have a better chance of people smiling you back.
Right.
If you treat better people, they will treat you better also. And if you reward your team properly, they will want to give an extra mile for you.
Right.
If you change somebody's life, they will want to change your life. It's just like that.
Exactly.
You can start practicing the smile. It's very cheap and simple.
So what would you tell to someone listening right now that's tuning in, they're listening, and two things. I have two questions for you. The first one is, how do they start incorporating more of this abundance mindset into their life? What would you say?
Just start practicing the giving without holding back. This is the thing. When you have this idea of, maybe you're going through your day and you see in a store something that reminds you of someone, like a mug that says something that you're like, oh, my cousin would love this. And then you continue walking. Don't. Go inside, get the mug, give it to your cousin.
I love that.
It's just those little things
Yeah.
that when you start practicing, it will become natural to you, and you'll see how the world will give back to you as well in that same way.
I love that. And then my second question for you is, what would you say to someone that, we kind of talked about this in the beginning of the podcast episode, but what would you say to someone that is so scared to face their fear, and think about what that is for you right now? Like, I want everybody to take a moment and really think about, like, what is that one thing? Like, for me, it was waking up early in the morning. For someone else, it might be speaking on a stage or speaking publicly. What is that one thing for you right now that is holding you back? And then my question for you, Michelle, is what would be the first step for that person to take once they've identified what it is?
Well, the identifying is the most important, because I'm not here to tell you to go out and face all your fears. It's
She's like, just don't go, crazy skydiving, but let's pick one.
It's about understanding where you want to get in life, exactly what's holding you back.
Yes.
That is the one fear you have to start facing. And here is a tool for you that has changed the life of a lot of people. It's in the book, of course. And there's this really bad question that people love to ask themselves and other people when they're about to face a fear, and it's, what's the worst that can happen?
Oh, that's true.
That's the worst question you can ask yourself, because if you ask that, like,
then you start thinking of all the bad things.
Yeah, immediately you're like, okay, I'm not going to die by speaking on stage, but I may be embarrassed, I may forget what I have to say, I may screw up all this, I may fail, I may all these things, right? So now I want you to ask yourself, before doing something that is scary, what's the best that can happen? When you ask yourself what's the best that can happen, you focus on the rewards.
Yes.
And that is so important, because you will naturally think about the risk.
Right.
But you are not considering the reward, and that is why you're staying in your comfort zone.
I love that. That is so good. Thank you so much for being here today. Where can everybody find you and follow you?
So Instagram at Hello Fears. You'll find everything there. But if I can recommend one thing, is go to Amazon and order the paperback version of this book, Hello Fears. I promise it will change your life.
And we'll link it in the show notes. So you guys, all you have to do is head down to the show notes or the description, click the link, and we'll take you right there. Thanks so much for being here, Michelle.
Thank you for having me.
Now go out and slay your day.